What is a trigger? A trigger is anything that can bring up a memory to an event while creating an emotional response. Triggers are personal and very different for everyone. Triggers activate trauma and painful memories and can bring you into an extremely uncomfortable emotional state. They can also activate the subconscious mind without conscious awareness. After the trigger occurs, our mind can begin to play out scenarios or start negative self-talk. This can happen whether we are paying attention to our thoughts and feelings or not. The average person thinks over 60,000 thoughts a day. That's a ton of information to keep hold of. Knowing what triggers us is really important so we don't allow these triggers to create havoc in our mind if they go unchecked. When we know our triggers and responses, we can actually find ways to heal the memories, beliefs, and or pain that is stored in our body and our brain. So instead of trying to ignore the feeling as if it's not happening, try and discover why you are reacting. Every negative feeling has a negative belief attached to it, and sometimes multiple beliefs that are attached to it. One trick to discovering where triggers come from is to ask yourself when you're in that emotional state, what age am I right now? I did this when I was trying on clothes. That was always my trigger. When I tried on clothes, they didn't fit, and I got frustrated and I felt fat, and my mind would just go down this horrible rabbit hole of how terrible I am, how fat I was, how different my body was. And so I actually stopped myself at this moment and I thought, what age am I right now? And this was interesting because a scene popped into my head when I was 8 years old, and we were on a field trip with the swim center. And we all went into the locker room. Everyone was handed a bathing suit. All the girls got into their bathing suits and ran into the pool. Me, however, I didn't fit into any of the bathing suits. They got me a bigger size, still couldn't get my legs through the leg hole. And I wasn't a fat kid. I was, maybe I was chunky, but I was mostly muscular. I had really thick muscular legs, and it was so frustrating. And I remember not thinking I had thick muscular legs. I just felt like everyone in there that was helping me was so frustrated and grossed out by how big I was. But she handed me an adult size large bathing suit, and it finally fit through my legs, but it was so big on the top of me. It was like they had to tie it up, and I just looked ridiculous. And I remember walking out into the swimming pool area, and everyone was already out there swimming, so obviously it was like everyone stopped and looked right at me, and here I was with this bathing suit that was huge, tied up all around me just so I could fit through my huge chunky legs. And all I could think is, everyone in here thinks I am the grossest, fattest thing alive. And again, I wasn't even that big, but that's what my mind was telling me. That's what I was perceiving from this. I was so mad, and I was so incredibly sad. So every time after this experience, when I tried on something, all of these thoughts of this little girl that was so embarrassed and that hated her body would pop up into my head, and my subconscious mind would start reliving these programs that I had stored of hating my body, of being embarrassed. And it was always just overwhelming, and I always tried to just ignore it or stop trying on clothes or go eat some food. This was a trauma, and I know we don't think of silly little things like this as trauma because we think maybe it'll discredit someone that went through some real intense trauma. But anything that creates an internal disruption in your body and mind is traumatic to you personally. We need to understand that there are many levels of traumatic experiences. A small embarrassment can affect the body similar to an intense experience such as death, war, or abuse. I am certainly not comparing the two. It's just that your body holds the pain similarly. So dismissing the painful experience because it's not as painful as someone else's experience doesn't help you or them. Everybody reacts different to trauma. Some triggers are obvious, but some sneak up on you. For example, let's say you smell something that reminds the brain of a terrible experience. You are busy doing things so you don't pay attention consciously, but the subconscious picked up on it. And now it's starting to remind you that you are not safe. The world isn't safe. And something terrible can happen at any moment. You weren't paying attention to your thoughts and suddenly you feel anxious. Your body doesn't feel good and you forgot that you even smelled the trigger because it may have been over an hour ago. So what do you do if you suddenly feel anxious and tight and there's tension and you don't even know why? The first thing you must do is ask yourself, am I safe at this moment? It's a valid question, but you need to remind the subconscious mind that you are. So ask the question, am I safe at this moment? And if you are safe, you want to signal to the nervous system that you're safe and there's no threat. Don't try to take a deep breath, because when we take a deep breath, it doesn't convince the nervous system that everything is safe and that you're okay. What you want to do is take a real slow breath. You want to just take your time. Doesn't matter how deep it is. Just take your time, breathe in and exhale and just slow it down. And when you slow it down, just picture your body relaxing. Soften your eyes just a little bit. You can even smile slightly. And those signals will tell the nervous system that there is no threat. But what if you are triggered so badly and it brings up a memory that just freezes you and your body is just in panic mode? The reason your body is reacting to this is because you are bringing up a memory that has left you feeling helpless and in fear. Memories can trick the body because it doesn't recognize that this is a memory, especially if the memories haven't been released in the body. The body assumes the threat is happening now and alerts the sympathetic nervous system that you are in danger now. Picture the sympathetic nervous system as a team of workers in a control center within your nervous system. This team doesn't have a scope leading outside the body, so they are solely relying on cues from you. The reason deep breaths aren't convincing the team in the control center is because you could still be under attack when you're breathing deep. It's forced and sometimes labored. You can take deep breaths when you're terrified or ready to take action. So moving forward, try to become aware of the things that trigger negative emotions in your life. The reason you get triggered is because there is a memory and a belief stored in the body and in the subconscious mind. It's just an alert system. This creates an opportunity to understand why this is a trigger for you. Please don't ignore triggers. We want to find out why the trigger's there in the first place. You are worth it, and your healing is worth it. So keep going, keep discovering more about yourself, and trust in your answers.